I asked a stranger to kiss me to make my ex jealous. I didn't know he was Michael Enzo, the man whose name makes grown men tremble. I didn't know that one kiss would mark me as his. I didn't know his enemies would come for me, that my ex would betray me for money, that choosing him meant choosing danger. But I know now. And the terrifying part? I don't want to walk away. Even though staying might destroy me. Even though he's already ruined me for anyone else. Even though one kiss changed everything. I told myself I was over him. I told myself it didn't matter anymore. I told myself a lot of lies that night, and every single one of them fell apart the second I saw Cal Martins walk into that bar. The champagne bubbles fizzed against my tongue, sour and too sweet, and I wondered why I'd bothered coming out at all. 3 years since he'd walked away from everything we'd built, leaving me with his debts and my shattered belief in happy endings. 3 years of double shifts and empty apartments and learning how to be enough for myself. But 3 years hadn't prepared me for this. He looked good, of course he did. Hair perfectly styled, suit that probably cost more than my car payment. And beside him, draped in designer silk with her hand possessive on his chest, was her. The new one. The upgraded model. Everything I'd failed to be. When he leaned down to whisper something in her ear and she laughed, that bright, careless sound that once belonged to me, I felt the wound reopen. All the nights I'd cried myself to sleep. All the mornings I'd woken up wondering what was wrong with me. All the times I'd told myself I was healing. Lies. All lies. Careful. You're about to crack that glass. The voice came from my left, deep, slightly accented, cutting through the fog of my spiraling thoughts. I turned, blinking back the burning in my eyes that I refused to acknowledge as tears. The man beside me didn't belong in this expensive Manhattan lounge. Or maybe he belonged too much. Dark suit that made every other man in the room look like they were trying too hard. Tattoos crawling up his neck and across the hand holding his scotch. The kind of presence that made you straighten your spine without realizing why. I'm fine, I lied again, because what else do you say to a stranger? His gaze followed mine to Cal, who had just noticed me and was now staring with that familiar mixture of surprise and satisfaction. The look that said, I still have power over you. Your ex. Not really a question. I nodded, my throat too tight for words. Cal's smirk widened. His new girlfriend pressed closer, and he kissed her temple without breaking eye contact with me. A deliberate performance. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Could you kiss me? My ex is watching from the bar, and I stopped, heat flooding my cheeks. God, that's pathetic. I'm sorry. I don't even know you. The stranger's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, something calculating and cold and oddly protective all at once. You don't know me, he agreed, voice dropping lower. But I know his type. He set down his glass with the kind of care that suggested violence lurking beneath control. Men who make women feel small deserve to remember why they should have held on. My heart hammered against my ribs as he extended his hand. Manicured nails, heavy silver watch, but calluses on his palm that told stories his expensive suit tried to hide. One kiss, he said softly. Make him understand what he lost. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed warning, the way servers moved carefully around him, the 2 men in dark suits who appeared at the bar's edges, the feeling that I was about to step into something I couldn't step back out of. Then Cal laughed, loud and deliberate, and I placed my hand in the stranger's. His grip was iron wrapped in silk as he pulled me closer. Your name, he murmured. Amber. Amber. He said it like a secret. Like a vow. His hand settled at my waist, possessive and steady, and when his lips brushed my ear, his voice sent electricity down my spine. Breathe, Amber. Let me handle this. I looked up into his eyes, dark, dangerous, and utterly focused on me, and realized too late that I just made a deal with the devil himself. When he finally pulled back, the entire bar had shifted. Conversations had died. Eyes had turned. And Cal stood frozen halfway across the room, his face drained of color, staring at the man who still held me against his chest. That's when I heard someone whisper a name. Not the name he might have given me, but the one that made the bartender's hand shake as he poured, Michael Enzo. I didn't know that name yet. Didn't understand why it made grown men step back or why Cal looked like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't know that the man whose lips still burned against mine was one of the most dangerous people in New York, or that asking him for a kiss would change everything. All I knew was that for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel invisible. And that terrified me almost as much as the way Michael Enzo was looking at me, like I was already his. I should start at the beginning, with Cal Martins and the 3 years that led me to this moment. I should explain how we met at a gallery opening, how he made me feel like the only woman in the room, how he proposed on a rooftop overlooking Central Park. I should tell you about the slow unraveling, the missed rent payments, the credit cards opened in my name, the business deal that went south and took my savings with it. About the morning I woke up to find him gone and a note that said simply, "This isn't working. You deserve better. Better." As if leaving me drowning in his debt was an act of mercy. But none of that mattered now. Not when Michael Enzo's hand tightened at my waist, drawing me closer with a control that felt both protective and possessive. Not when his other hand lifted to cup my jaw, thumb brushing my cheekbone with surprising gentleness. "Breathe," he murmured again, his accent curling around the word like smoke. "And don't look away from me." I couldn't have looked away if I tried. His eyes held mine, dark, fathomless, seeing straight through every wall I'd built around myself. The noise of the bar faded to nothing. The glittering chandeliers blurred at the edges of my vision. There was only him, only this moment balanced on a knife's edge between reckless and inevitable. "This is just for show," I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I was trying to convince. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Is it?" Then he kissed me. I'd expected a performance, something quick and shallow, just enough to make Cal look twice. A means to an end. A bandage for my pride. I was wrong. Michael Enzo kissed me like he was claiming territory. Like he'd waited his entire life for this exact moment, and now that it had arrived, he had no intention of holding back. His lips were firm against mine, commanding without demanding, and when I gasped in surprise, he deepened the kiss with a hunger that sent electricity racing down my spine. My hands moved without permission, clutching at his suit jacket, fingers digging into expensive fabric as the world tilted sideways. He tasted like scotch and something darker, danger maybe, or the kind of power that didn't need to announce itself. His hand slid from my jaw to the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair, holding me exactly where he wanted me. This wasn't pretend. This was real. Too real. Heat flooded through me, pooling low in my stomach, erasing 3 years of careful control in the span of heartbeats. I'd forgotten what it felt like to be wanted like this, not as someone's convenient mistake, not as the woman who wasn't quite enough, but as something worth possessing. Worth treasuring. When he finally pulled back, I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only stare up at him while my heart hammered against my ribs and my lips burned from the pressure of his. That, he said quietly, his thumb tracing my lower lip, was not just for show. The bar had gone silent around us. I became aware of it slowly, like surfacing from deep water. The jazz quartet had stopped mid-song. Conversations had died mid-sentence. Even the clink of glasses had ceased, replaced by a tension so thick I could feel it pressing against my skin. The bartender stood frozen, a bottle of champagne suspended in mid-pour. A server near the kitchen entrance had gone pale, her tray trembling in her hands. And the 2 men in dark suits I'd noticed earlier, they'd moved. One now stood near the exit, blocking it without appearing to block it. The other had positioned himself near the bar, his hand resting casually beneath his jacket in a way that made my stomach clench. "What have I done? Michael?" The bartender's voice cracked slightly. "Sir. Would you like another drink?" "Sir." Not the casual familiarity he'd used with other patrons. This was deference. Fear wrapped in politeness. Michael didn't acknowledge him. His attention remained fixed on me, his hands still cradling the back of my neck, his body angled to shield me from the rest of the room. When he spoke, his voice was low enough that only I could hear. "You're shaking." I was. I hadn't realized. My entire body trembled against his, though whether from the kiss or from the sudden, terrible understanding that I'd just involved myself with someone far more dangerous than I'd imagined, I couldn't say. "Who are you?" The question came out as barely more than a whisper. His eyes searched mine, and for a moment, something almost like regret flickered behind them. "Someone who's going to make sure your ex never looks at you like that again." A glass shattered somewhere behind us. Michael's head turned slightly, tracking the sound, and I followed his gaze to see Cal standing 15 feet away. The woman on his arm had disappeared, fled probably, sensing the shift in atmosphere that I'd been too distracted to notice. Cal's face had drained of color, his expensive whiskey forgotten on a nearby table. He stared at Michael like he'd seen a ghost. No, like he'd seen something worse than a ghost. Like he'd seen death itself and realized it knew his name. "Enzo," Cal breathed, and the name came out like a prayer. Or a curse. The air in the room crystallized. Around us, patrons began gathering their things with sudden urgency, not running, not panicking, but leaving with the practiced efficiency of people who knew when to make themselves scarce. Within moments, the crowd had thinned by half. Michael's hand slipped from my neck to my waist, keeping me close against his side. "You know me," he said to Cal, and it wasn't a question. Cal nodded, his throat working visibly. "Ah, yes, sir." I didn't mean," he stopped, seeming to realize that whatever he was about to say would only make things worse. "This woman." Michael's voice remained soft, conversational, but there was steel beneath it. "Amber. You know her as well." Cal's gaze flickered to me, and I saw something crumble in his expression. Fear. Recognition. Understanding that he'd made a terrible mistake by coming here tonight, by seeing me, by smirking when he should have looked away. We used to," Cal stammered. "Used to," Michael repeated. His arm tightened around my waist. "Past tense. Which means she's no longer your concern." "Of course. No. I understand." Cal took a step backward, then another. His hands lifted slightly, a gesture of surrender. "I was just leaving." "You were." Michael's tone didn't change, but somehow the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "And you won't return to any establishment where she might be present. You won't call her. You won't approach her. You won't so much as look in her direction if you pass her on the street." It wasn't a request. It was a command, delivered with the absolute certainty of someone who expected obedience and had the means to enforce it. Cal nodded frantically. "Yes. Yes, of course. I'm sorry." He backed toward the exit, nearly tripping over a chair in his haste to escape. The man in the dark suit near the door stepped aside, letting Cal flee into the night. Then he resumed his position, arms crossed, expression neutral. The silence that followed felt alive. Dangerous. I turned slowly to look up at Michael, my mind racing through the implications of what I'd just witnessed. The way Cal had recognized him. The way everyone in the bar had reacted to his name. The men in suits who moved on his unspoken command. The bartender who couldn't meet his eyes. "Michael Enzo," I said carefully, testing the name on my tongue. He watched me, waiting. "Who are you really?" His hand came up to cup my face again, and despite everything, despite the fear coiling in my stomach and the voice screaming at me to run, I leaned into his touch. "Someone you asked to kiss you," he said simply. "And someone who doesn't let go once he's claimed something." Claimed. The word should have terrified me. Should have sent me running toward the door alongside Cal and the other fleeing patrons. Instead, all I could think about was the way his lips had felt against mine. The way his hands had held me like I was something precious. The way he'd made me feel, for the first time in 3 years, like I mattered. I should go, I whispered, though my feet remained rooted to the spot. Should you? His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. Or should you stay and let me buy you a real drink? One that doesn't taste like regret and cheap champagne. I knew the answer I should give. Knew I should thank him politely, gather what remained of my dignity, and disappear into the Manhattan night before I got any deeper into whatever this was. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was, what kind of drink? Michael Enzo smiled, a real smile this time, dangerous and warm and full of dark promise. The kind you don't forget, he said, and guided me toward a private booth in the back corner of the bar, where the shadows gathered like old friends and the rest of the world couldn't reach us. The private booth swallowed us in velvet and shadow. Crystal decanters lined a small bar built into the mahogany paneling, catching the amber light from a single brass lamp. Michael guided me onto the leather seat with a hand at the small of my back, proprietary, protective, impossible to refuse. Sit, he said quietly. I'll be right back. He moved toward the bar to speak with someone, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts and the phantom heat of his kiss still burning on my lips. Through the carved wooden screen separating us from the main floor, I could see the bar slowly refilling with patrons, though they gave this corner a wide berth, as if an invisible line had been drawn that no one dared cross. What am I doing here? The question hammered through my skull, but before I could formulate an answer, a familiar voice cut through the quiet like broken glass. Pathetic. I looked up to find Cal standing at the edge of the booth, his earlier fear apparently forgotten, or buried beneath alcohol and wounded pride. His face was flushed, jaw tight, eyes bright with the kind of anger I remembered from our worst fights. The kind that came right before he said things designed to leave scars. I'm sorry. I kept my voice steady, though my hands trembled in my lap. You heard me. He leaned against the wooden screen, blocking my view of the bar. Pathetic, Amber. You'll throw yourself at any man in an expensive suit just to get back at me? Just to make me feel, what? Jealous. He laughed, bitter and cruel. You think I care who you kiss? The words hit exactly where he'd aimed them, straight through the armor I'd spent 3 years building. Heat flooded my cheeks. My throat constricted. Cal, you need to leave. I hated how small my voice sounded. Or what? He pushed off the screen, taking a step closer. You'll have your new boyfriend throw me out? Please. I saw the way you begged him to kiss you. Desperate. Clinging to the first man who'd give you attention. His lip curled. Some things never change. You were always so needy, so. The lady asked you to leave. Michael's voice came from behind Cal, low, calm, and absolutely glacial. He'd appeared so silently that even I hadn't heard him approach. He stood with his hands in his pockets, relaxed, but there was nothing casual about the way he occupied space. The air around him seemed to sharpen, to compress, until even breathing felt difficult. Cal spun around, and for a second, I saw real fear flash across his face before pride crushed it back down. This doesn't concern you. I'm having a conversation with my ex-wife. Ex, Michael repeated, taking one step forward. Just one. Cal stumbled back too. Which means you have no right to be here. No right to speak to her. No right to breathe the same air. Listen, I don't know who you think you are, Cal started, his voice rising with false bravado. Michael tilted his head slightly, studying Cal the way a scientist might study an insect. You don't know who I am? Something in his tone made Cal pause. Made him really look at Michael for the first time, not just seeing an expensive suit and tattoos, but seeing him. Recognition dawned slowly, like blood spreading through water. Cal's face went white. No, he breathed. No, you're. Yes. Michael's smile didn't reach his eyes. Enzo. The name came out as barely more than a whisper, strangled and terrified. You're Michael Enzo. The booth suddenly felt smaller. darker. I watched Cal's transformation with growing unease, the way his shoulders hunched, the way his hands began to shake, the way he took another stumbling step backward as if Michael had physically pushed him. I wasn't, Cal's words tumbled over each other. Sir, I apologize. I didn't realize she was with you. If I'd known. If you'd known, you would have what? Michael's voice remained soft, conversational. Somehow that made it more terrifying. Treated her with respect? Or simply hidden your disrespect better? Around us, the bar had gone silent again. I could feel eyes watching through the gaps in the wooden screen, feel the weight of attention focused on our corner. The two men in dark suits had materialized nearby, not threatening, not moving, just there. Present. Waiting. The bartender had stopped pouring mid-drink. A server stood frozen halfway to a table. Even the jazz quartet had let their song trail into silence. Everyone was watching. Everyone knew something I didn't. I'm sorry, Cal said again, his voice cracking. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the bar's cool air. Please. I'll go. I won't come back. I won't bother her again. I swear. Michael studied him for a long moment, and I couldn't read his expression. Couldn't tell if he was considering mercy or simply deciding how much fear was appropriate. Finally, he spoke. You have 10 seconds to leave this establishment. If I see you again, anywhere near Amber, anywhere I happen to be, I won't be this understanding. He paused. 9 seconds. Cal didn't wait for 8. He turned and fled, knocking into a chair in his desperation to reach the exit. The door slammed behind him with a finality that echoed through the sudden silence. Slowly, carefully, the bar began to breathe again. Conversations resumed in hushed tones. The jazz quartet picked up their instruments. Servers moved with renewed purpose, though they still avoided our corner. Michael turned back to me, his expression softening into something almost gentle. I apologize. That was unpleasant. I stared up at him, my mind reeling. Who are you? He slid into the booth across from me, close enough that our knees touched. I told you. Michael Enzo. That's a name, not an answer. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Cal looked at you like you were. I stopped, struggling to find words for the terror I'd seen in my ex-husband's face. Like I was dangerous. Michael suggested quietly. Like I was someone he should have avoided? He reached across the small space between us, taking my hand in his. His palm was warm, his grip firm but not constraining. Both of those things are true. What do you do? I whispered. Many things. His thumb traced circles on my wrist, over my pulse point where my heartbeat betrayed my fear. Import. Export. Real estate. Investments. Each word felt like a half-truth, a carefully constructed facade. I'm a businessman, Amber. Businessmen don't make people run away in terror. His smile was slow, dangerous, and utterly honest. Good businessmen don't. The implication hung between us, heavy and undeniable. I should pull my hand away. Should stand up and walk out of this bar, out of this moment, back to my small apartment and my safe, predictable life. Should forget the way he'd kissed me, the way he'd defended me, the way his touch made me feel both cherished and claimed. Instead, I heard myself ask, why did you kiss me? Really? Michael leaned forward, his free hand coming up to cup my jaw the way it had before. His eyes held mine, dark, intense, seeing every wall I'd tried to rebuild and every crack Cal's words had opened. Because when I saw the way he looked at you, Michael said softly, I wanted to remind you that you're worth more than his cruelty. His thumb brushed my lower lip. And because the moment you turned to me with that desperate plea in your eyes, I knew I wasn't letting you walk away. You don't even know me. Don't I? He tilted his head slightly. Amber Bells. 28. Works double shifts at Meridian Hotel to pay off debts your ex-husband left behind. Lives alone in a studio apartment in Hell's Kitchen. Takes the subway because you sold your car to cover his last failed business venture. Ice flooded through my veins. How do you? I make it my business to know things, he interrupted gently. Especially when something interests me. His hand tightened on mine. And you, Amber Bells, interest me very much. I should have been terrified. Should have been running for the door like Cal had. Instead, all I could think was that for the first time in 3 years, someone had truly seen me. Not the broken woman Cal had left behind. Not the struggling waitress drowning in someone else's mistakes. Me. I don't understand, I whispered. Michael's smile softened into something genuine. You will. But first, he released my hand to pour amber liquid from one of the crystal decanters into 2 glasses. Let me buy you that drink I promised. And then I'll tell you exactly who I am. He handed me a glass, and despite every warning screaming through my mind, I took it. Outside, through the bar's tall windows, I could see Cal's silhouette disappearing into the Manhattan night, running from the man whose world I'd just stepped into. And God help me, I didn't want to follow. The scotch burned down my throat, smooth and expensive, nothing like the cheap liquor I'd learned to tolerate. Michael watched me over the rim of his own glass, patient, waiting for the question I was too afraid to ask. You already told me, I said finally, setting the glass down with hands that still trembled. You know where I live. Where I work. You know about Cal's debts. I did. He swirled the amber liquid, studying it as if it held answers. Does that frighten you? Yes. Honesty seemed like the only safe option with a man who apparently knew my entire life story. It should frighten me more than it does. His mouth curved. But, I stopped, struggling to articulate the strange calm settling over me despite everything. But you had 100 ways to hurt me tonight. You could have let Cal humiliate me. Could have ignored my desperate plea. Could have kissed me and walked away laughing. I met his eyes. You didn't. No, he agreed quietly. I didn't. Why? Michael set down his glass and leaned back against the leather seat, his posture relaxed but his gaze sharp. Calculating. 3 months ago, a man came to me asking for a loan. Said he had a business opportunity, something about tech investments, cryptocurrency. He paused. His name was Cal Martins. My stomach dropped. You know Cal? I know of him. I declined his request. Michael's expression hardened. Men like your ex, they're easy to read. Desperate. Arrogant. The kind who'd rather burn everything down than admit they've failed. He leaned forward suddenly, elbows on his knees, closing the distance between us. When he mentioned he'd left behind a wife to clean up his mess, I had someone look into it. The world tilted sideways. You investigated me? I investigated him, Michael corrected. You were simply part of the story. His eyes softened fractionally. The part that interested me most. I should have been furious. Should have stood up and demanded he explain what gave him the right to dig through my life like it was something he owned. Instead, I felt something else entirely, a strange mixture of violation and relief. Someone had looked. Someone had seen the wreckage Cal left behind and thought it mattered. What did you find? My voice came out barely above a whisper. Michael reached across the small table between us, his fingers tracing the rim of my glass. A woman working herself to exhaustion. 70-hour weeks at Meridian Hotel, double shifts, overnight shifts, holidays. His gaze held mine. You covered $43,000 of his debt in 18 months. Debt he accumulated in your name without your knowledge. The number hit me like a physical blow. I'd never calculated it, never let myself add up all those credit card payments, all those phone calls with collection agencies, all those nights I'd chosen between eating and keeping the lights on. You also sent money to his mother, Michael continued, his voice gentle now. Every month. $200 you couldn't afford, because she'd been kind to you and you didn't want her to suffer for her son's choices. Tears burned behind my eyes. How do you? Bank records. Wire transfers. It's all there if you know where to look. He withdrew his hand, giving me space. You're a good person, Amber Bells. Better than the man who left you deserved. Stop. The word came out sharp, defensive. You don't know me. You know facts. Data. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? He tilted his head, studying me with that unsettling intensity. I know you work mornings at Meridian despite hating early shifts because the tips are better. I know you walk past the coffee shop on 9th every morning but never go in because the lattes cost $7 and you've decided that's wasteful. His voice dropped lower. I know you cry in the shower at night when you think no one can hear you. The tears spilled over before I could stop them. You had someone watching me. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation wrapped in hurt and confusion and something dangerously close to betrayal. Michael didn't deny it. For your protection. My protection? I laughed, bitter and broken. From what? From men like Cal Martins who might come back looking for more money. From loan sharks he might have sicked on you. He stopped abruptly, as if catching himself before revealing too much. From what? I pressed. His jaw tightened. From loneliness that makes you vulnerable. From desperation that makes you do things like ask strangers to kiss you in bars. He reached out again, catching a tear on my cheek with his thumb. From exactly the situation you found yourself in tonight. The gentleness in his touch contrasted sharply with the cold calculation of his words. This man had been watching me, knowing me, learning my patterns, my struggles, my breaking points. And instead of terror I felt seen. Exposed, yes. Vulnerable, absolutely. But seen in a way I hadn't been in years. This wasn't chance, was it? I whispered. Tonight. You being here when I was here. Michael's silence was answer enough. You knew I'd be at this bar. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. You knew Cal would be here too. I knew Cal frequented this establishment on Friday nights. I suspected, he paused, choosing his words carefully. I suspected that eventually, your paths would cross. And when they did, you'd need someone. So you appointed yourself my protector? Anger sparked through the confusion. You manipulated this entire situation. I ensured you weren't alone when you faced your past. His voice remained calm, infuriatingly reasonable. There's a difference. Is there? I stood abruptly, the booth suddenly too small, his presence too overwhelming. You investigated me. Watched me. Orchestrated this, I gestured between us. Whatever this is. And you think that's protection? Michael stood as well, his height and proximity making me step back against the leather seat. But he didn't advance. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, watching me with those dark, unreadable eyes. I think, he said quietly, that 3 months ago I read a file about a woman destroyed by a man who didn't deserve her. I think I saw her photo, exhausted, still beautiful, fighting like hell to survive, and I wondered what kind of man walks away from that. He took one step closer. Just one. And I think that tonight, when you walked into this bar wearing a dress you probably couldn't afford and heels that hurt your feet, trying so hard to pretend you were fine, I knew I'd been right to watch. Right to wait. Right to be here. Right to manipulate me. Right to make sure you weren't alone. His hand lifted, hovering near my face but not touching. Tell me you would have been better off if I hadn't been here. Tell me you would have preferred facing Cal alone, watching him flaunt his new life while you drowned in the debris of your old one. His voice dropped to barely more than a whisper. Tell me you didn't want someone to see you as more than your ex-husband's discarded mistake. I couldn't. The words caught in my throat, trapped behind the truth I didn't want to admit, that his presence had been a lifeline. That his kiss had made me feel human again. That knowing someone had been watching, had cared enough to watch, filled a hollow space I'd been trying to ignore. This is wrong, I whispered. Probably. He finally touched me, fingers gentle on my jaw. Does that change how it feels? It should have. It should have changed everything. Instead, I found myself leaning into his touch, craving the warmth and certainty he offered even as my mind screamed warnings. What do you want from me? The question came out broken, desperate. Michael's thumb traced my lower lip, his eyes darkening with something that looked like possession. Everything, he said simply. But I'll start with honesty. He withdrew his hand, creating space between us. I didn't plan the kiss, Amber. I planned to introduce myself properly. To offer help with Cal's debts, perhaps a job opportunity. To give you options that didn't involve working yourself to death. And then I ruined your plan by asking you to kiss me. His smile was slow, dangerous, and completely genuine. You didn't ruin anything. You accelerated it. He stepped back, giving me room to breathe. Now you know who I am. What I am. That I've been watching. That tonight wasn't coincidence. He gestured toward the exit. The door is there. You can walk out. Go home. Forget this happened. I won't stop you, and I won't follow. But. Because there was always a but with men like him. But if you stay, Michael said softly, if you let me take you home, if you choose to see where this goes, then you're choosing me knowing everything. Knowing I'm dangerous. Knowing I don't play by normal rules. Knowing that once you're mine, I don't share. I don't let go. I don't do halfway. The choice stretched between us like a chasm. On one side, my small apartment, my exhausting job, my safe and lonely existence. On the other, this man who knew too much, who'd orchestrated tonight, who looked at me like I was something precious and terrifying all at once. I should have walked away. Should have run. Instead, I heard myself ask, if I stay, what happens next? Michael's smile was both promise and warning as he extended his hand. Come with me, he said. And I'll show you. The car waiting outside wasn't just expensive, it was obscene. A black Mercedes S-Class with windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside, idling at the curb like a predator at rest. The driver who opened the door wore a suit nearly as expensive as Michael's and an earpiece that suggested he was more than just hired help. After you, Michael said, his hand at the small of my back, guiding me toward luxury I'd only ever seen in movies. I hesitated on the sidewalk, reality crashing back. I can take the subway. It's just 23 blocks to Hell's Kitchen, Michael finished. Past the construction on 8th, through the area where those muggings happened last month. His hand pressed slightly firmer. Get in the car, Amber. It wasn't a request. I slid into leather seats so soft they felt like butter, breathing in the scent of expensive cologne and new car smell. Michael followed, settling beside me with the casual grace of someone who lived in spaces like this. The door closed with a sound that suggested engineering beyond my comprehension, solid, final, sealing us into our own private world. Where to, Mr. Enzo? The driver asked, his eyes meeting Michael's in the rear-view mirror. Michael glanced at me. What's your address? I told him, and the driver nodded, pulling smoothly into Manhattan traffic without another word. No GPS, no confirmation. Just immediate knowledge of exactly where to go in a city of 8 million people. He knows every street in New York, Michael said, reading my expression. And most in the surrounding boroughs. Handy for a driver. Essential for a bodyguard. The word hung between us, heavy with implication. I turned to look at Michael in the dim interior, the passing streetlights casting shadows across his sharp features. You need a bodyguard who drives you? I need people who can do many things. His hand found mine on the seat between us, fingers threading through mine with casual possession. Marco has been with me for 8 years. He's driven me, protected me, and once carried me out of a building that was actively on fire. I waited for him to laugh, to indicate he was joking. He didn't. Why was the building on fire? Michael's smile was slight, dangerous. Poor wiring. Liar. Yes. He brought my hand to his lips, kissing my knuckles without breaking eye contact. But a beautiful liar, don't you think? Despite everything, the fear, the confusion, the creeping realization of what I'd gotten myself into, I felt my mouth curve into a reluctant smile. You're terrible. I've been called worse. His thumb traced circles on my palm, usually by people who later regretted it. Is that a threat? An observation. He released my hand only to slide his arm around my shoulders, drawing me against his side. The gesture was possessive, protective, and utterly confident that I wouldn't pull away. You're safe with me, Amber. Whatever else I am, whatever you're afraid of, I would never hurt you. People who hurt people always say that. True. His fingers played with a strand of my hair that had escaped its pins. But people who hurt people don't usually admit to being dangerous first. They don't give you the option to walk away. His voice dropped lower. I gave you that option. You chose to stay. He was right. I'd made the choice knowingly, eyes open, aware of what he was, or at least aware that I didn't know what he was, which amounted to the same thing. I'm an idiot, I murmured. You're brave. He pressed a kiss to my temple, soft and unexpected. Brave and beautiful, and so tired of being alone that you'd rather risk danger than face another empty night. The accuracy of that statement stole my breath. I'd spent 3 years telling myself I was fine, that I preferred solitude, that I didn't need anyone. All lies. Comfortable lies that had kept me functioning, kept me working, kept me from falling apart completely. You see too much, I whispered. I see you. His hand cupped my jaw, turning my face toward his. That's all I want to see. The kiss came naturally this time, no audience, no performance, just his lips on mine in the dark privacy of the car. Slower than before, deeper, tasting like scotch and promises he probably shouldn't make. I melted into it, into him, my hands fisting in his jacket as the city blurred past the windows. When he pulled back, I was breathless. We shouldn't. But we are. His forehead rested against mine. Tell me you didn't feel it, Amber. Tell me that kiss at the bar was just acting. I couldn't. It had felt like lightning, like being struck by something fundamental and irrevocable. Like waking up after years of sleep. It scared me, I admitted. Good. His smile ghosted against my lips. You should be scared. This, he gestured between us. This isn't simple. It isn't safe. It will complicate your life in ways you can't imagine. Then why are you here? Why not just, let me go? Michael's eyes darkened. Because the moment you asked me to kiss you, the moment you looked at me with those desperate, beautiful eyes and trusted a complete stranger to save you from humiliation, you became mine. And I don't let go of what's mine. There was that word again. Mine. It should have sent me running. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach, a dangerous warmth that had nothing to do with safety and everything to do with the way his voice wrapped around the word like a vow. I don't belong to anyone. The protest was weak even to my own ears. Not yet. His thumb traced my lower lip. But you will. The car slowed, pulling to a stop outside my building, a pre-war walk-up that had seen better decades. Graffiti decorated the bottom steps. One window on the second floor was covered with cardboard. Trash bags piled near the entrance awaited morning pickup. Michael stared out the window, his expression unreadable. "This is where you live." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "Fourth floor. No elevator. The hot water works most of the time." I reached for the door handle. "Thank you for the ride." His hand caught my wrist. "I'm walking you up." "You don't need to." "I'm walking you up," he repeated, firmer this time. "Marco stays with the car. I see you to your door. I make sure you're safe inside. Then I leave." "You sound very certain about that plan." "I am." He released my wrist to cup my face in both hands. "Because if I don't set rules for myself, Amber Bells, I'll end up staying the night. And you're not ready for that." My breath caught. "How do you know?" "Because you're still deciding if I'm worth the risk." His kiss was brief, almost chaste. "Take your time deciding. I'm not going anywhere." Marco appeared at the door, opening it with military precision. Michael climbed out first, then extended his hand to help me onto the cracked sidewalk. The contrast was stark, his polished shoes on my broken pavement, his expensive suit against my building's peeling paint. He belonged in penthouses overlooking Central Park. I belonged in fourth-floor walk-ups with inconsistent hot water. "Lead the way," he said quietly. The stairs creaked under our weight. A television blared behind 2B's door. Someone was cooking fish on the third floor, the smell thick and unpleasant. My keys jingled too loudly in the silence between us as we climbed. "You could live anywhere," Michael said suddenly. "Any apartment in the city. I could arrange it." "I don't want your charity." "It wouldn't be charity. It would be," he stopped on the landing outside my door. "Protection. Comfort. What you deserve." "What I deserve is what I've earned." I unlocked the deadbolt, the scratch of metal on metal loud in the narrow hallway. "This might not be much, but it's mine. I paid for it. Every stick of furniture, every dish, every night's sleep. Mine." Something shifted in his expression, respect, maybe, or understanding. "You're proud." "I'm surviving." I pushed open the door but didn't invite him in. "Thank you. For tonight. For Cal. For everything." Michael leaned against the doorframe, studying my face in the dim hallway light. "This isn't goodbye, Amber." "I know. And I did know." Could feel it in my bones, in the way his eyes tracked my every movement, in the phantom weight of his kiss still burning on my lips. "But it's good night. Is it?" He reached out, tucking that wayward strand of hair behind my ear. "Or is it see you tomorrow?" I should have said goodbye. Should have closed the door on whatever dangerous thing was building between us. Should have protected myself from the inevitable heartbreak of getting involved with a man who kept bodyguards and knew too much and made people run in terror. Instead, I heard myself whisper, "Tomorrow." His smile was triumph and promise and dark satisfaction. "Tomorrow," he agreed. "I'll pick you up after your shift. 6 o'clock. "How do you know when my shift ends?" "Amber." His voice was gentle, almost apologetic. "I know everything about you." He kissed me one more time, slow, thorough, a reminder of everything we'd started and everything still waiting. Then he stepped back, hands in his pockets, watching as I retreated into my apartment. "Lock the door," he said quietly. "All 3 locks." I obeyed, the deadbolts sliding home one by one. Through the peephole, I watched him stand there for a long moment, just staring at my door. Then he turned and disappeared down the stairs, his footsteps fading into the building's ambient noise. I leaned against the door, my heart racing, the taste of him still on my lips. Tomorrow. I'd agreed to tomorrow, to seeing him again, to stepping further into whatever dangerous thing this was. Outside, an engine purred to life. The Mercedes pulling away from my curb, carrying Michael back to his world of wealth and violence and secrets I was only beginning to glimpse. And I stood in my small apartment, safe, alone, and already counting the hours until 6 o'clock. The morning shift at Meridian Hotel started like every other: harsh fluorescent lights, the industrial hum of the kitchen, and the acidic smell of coffee brewing in quantities meant to caffeinate an army. I tied my apron with practiced efficiency, trying to ignore the exhaustion pulling at my bones. I'd barely slept, my mind replaying the kiss, the car ride, the way Michael had looked at my door like he was memorizing it. "Tomorrow," he'd said. "Today. Girl, you look like hell." Maria, my coworker, appeared beside me with 2 cups of coffee. She pressed one into my hands. "Late night." Something like that. I took a grateful sip, letting the bitter heat ground me. "Must have been some night. You're smiling." She nudged me with her elbow. "Who is he?" "No one. Just," I stopped, unsure how to explain Michael Enzo. "Just a man who orchestrated our meeting, who knows everything about me, who kisses like he owns me." "Just someone I met." Maria's eyes narrowed with the particular wisdom of a woman who'd survived 3 divorces and knew trouble when she saw it. "Be careful. Men who make you smile like that usually make you cry later." She wasn't wrong. The morning passed in its usual blur, serving breakfast to business travelers, dodging inappropriate comments from the kitchen staff, counting tips that never seemed like enough. But something felt off. Wrong. Like the air pressure had changed and I was the only one who noticed. At first, it was small things. Tommy, the bellhop, kept glancing at me and whispering to the concierge. The manager walked past my station 3 times in an hour, which he never did. And through the hotel's front windows, I could see a black car parked across the street, not the Mercedes from last night, but similar. Expensive. Watching. Amber. Sarah from the front desk appeared at my elbow during the lunch rush. "There's a delivery for you." "A delivery?" She jerked her head toward the lobby, her expression caught between curiosity and something like concern. "You should see it." I followed her out, untying my apron, and stopped dead. The arrangement dominated the front desk, not flowers, but a work of art. Orchids in shades of deep purple and pristine white, interspersed with something I didn't recognize, something rare, that seemed to glow in the lobby's light. The vase was crystal, probably worth more than my monthly rent. My hands shook as I opened it. The handwriting was precise, masculine, confident. For a woman who deserves beautiful things. "M. Who's M?" Sarah whispered, leaning close. "No one." The lie tasted bitter. I touched one of the orchids, petal soft as silk, exotic, completely out of place in my world. "Just someone. Someone with serious money." She lowered her voice further. "Amber, those are ghost orchids. They cost about $300 per stem. There are at least a dozen stems in that arrangement. $3,000. 4 flowers. For me." The lunch rush suddenly felt suffocating. I was aware of eyes on me, hotel guests noting the extravagant display, co-workers whispering, and through the window, that black car still parked across the street. "Can you cover my tables for 10 minutes? I asked Sarah. "Sure, but..." I didn't wait for her to finish. I pushed through the employee entrance into the alley behind the hotel, needing air, needing space to think. My phone was already in my hand, searching for a number I didn't have. "Miss Bells." The voice came from the alley's entrance, smooth, accented differently than Michael's. Russian, maybe, or Eastern European. I spun to find a man in a gray suit, older than Michael, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes that held no warmth. "Who are you?" My hand tightened around my phone. "A friend." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Or I could be." "You've caught the attention of Michael Enzo, yes?" Ice flooded my veins. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Please." He took a step closer. I took one back. The flowers. The car waiting outside. The fact that Marco Rossetti has been parked across the street since your shift started. He tilted his head. Michael has made you his. The question is, do you understand what that means? I need to get back to work. It means you're now a piece on the board. Another step. It means people who have disagreements with Michael might see you as leverage, as a weakness to exploit. His smile sharpened. It means you should be very careful about who you trust. Is that a threat? A warning. He pulled a card from his pocket, holding it out. When you realize what you've gotten into, when Michael's world becomes too dangerous, call me. Viktor Volkov. I protect people from men like Enzo. I didn't take the card. Get away from me. Smart girl. Loyal already. He dropped the card at my feet. But loyalty to dangerous men often ends in tragedy. Remember that. He disappeared back into the street, leaving me shaking in the alley with a business card lying in a puddle at my feet. I kicked it deeper into the water and returned to the hotel, my heart hammering, my mind racing. The rest of my shift passed in a fog. Every customer felt like a threat. Every car outside could be watching. By the time 6 o'clock arrived, I was wound so tight I might shatter. The Mercedes appeared exactly on time. Michael stepped out as I emerged from the employee entrance, and the relief that flooded through me was terrifying in its intensity. He wore a different suit, still expensive, still perfect, and his expression softened when he saw me. Rough day? He asked quietly. You could say that. I didn't move toward him. We need to talk. Something shifted in his eyes. Get in the car, Amber. No. Here. Now. I crossed my arms, trying to find strength I didn't feel. A man approached me today. Viktor Volkov. He said I was a piece on a board. That people who have problems with you might use me as leverage. My voice rose despite my effort to control it. What the hell have you gotten me into? Michael went very still. When he spoke, his voice was dangerously soft. What did he say exactly? That I should be careful. That loyal women who trust men like you end up tragic. I laughed, bitter and broken. What do you want from me, Michael? Really? Because $3,000 flowers and strange men threatening me in alleys isn't what I signed up for. You asked me for a kiss. He closed the distance between us in 3 strides, his hand cupping my face with surprising gentleness despite the steel in his voice. You don't walk away from me after that. I didn't know what I was asking for. Yes, you did. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Maybe not consciously. Maybe not the details. But you knew I was dangerous. You knew I wasn't ordinary. And you asked anyway because some part of you wanted this, wanted to be claimed by someone who wouldn't let you go. That's not. Isn't it? His other hand found my waist, pulling me against him despite the open street, despite whoever might be watching. You spent 3 years alone, Amber. Working yourself to death, paying for someone else's mistakes, drowning in loneliness so profound it was killing you slowly. And then a dangerous stranger offered you a way out, and you took it. Tears burned behind my eyes. I didn't ask for death threats. That wasn't a death threat. That was Viktor testing you. His forehead pressed against mine, seeing if you'd scare easily, if you'd run, if you were worth the trouble of using against me. And am I? The question came out as barely more than a whisper. Worth the trouble? Michael's smile was dark and possessive, more than he can possibly imagine. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. Get in the car. Let me take you somewhere safe. Let me explain what you've stepped into and what I'm going to do to make sure Viktor Volkov never comes near you again. You can't protect me from everything. Watch me. His kiss was brief but fierce, a promise sealed with heat and certainty. You're mine now, Amber Bells. That means my enemies become yours. But it also means my protection becomes yours. My power. My resources. Everything I have stands between you and anyone who'd harm you. I should have been terrified. Should have demanded he let me go, that he take his flowers and his cars and his dangerous world and leave me alone. Instead, I heard myself ask, the flowers. Ghost orchids. Why? His expression softened. Because they're rare. Because they only bloom under specific conditions, in darkness, against all odds. His hand tightened at my waist. Because they reminded me of you. Damn him. Damn him for knowing exactly what to say, exactly how to make me feel seen and precious and worth protecting despite the danger swirling around us. If I get in that car, I whispered, I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Choosing whatever this is. Yes. And if I don't? Michael's jaw tightened. Then I have Marco follow you everywhere you go for the rest of your life. I buy your building and upgrade the security. I ensure your safety whether you want me to or not. His eyes held mine. Because you asked me for a kiss, Amber. And that kiss made you mine. Your choice now is whether you accept that willingly or fight me every step of the way. It should have sounded like a threat. Instead, it sounded like a vow. I looked at the Mercedes, at Marco waiting patiently by the open door. At the world of danger and luxury and terrifying certainty Michael offered. Then I looked back at my life, the hotel, the exhaustion, the loneliness that had been slowly hollowing me out. Take me somewhere safe, I said finally. And tell me everything. Michael's smile was triumph and relief and dark promise as he guided me toward the car. Behind us, somewhere in the Manhattan streets, Viktor Volkov was probably watching. Calculating. Planning. But as the Mercedes pulled away from the curb and Michael's hand found mine, I discovered I didn't care. I'd made my choice. Now I'd live with the consequences. The penthouse wasn't what I expected, though I wasn't sure what I'd been expecting. Something cold, maybe. Clinical. The kind of space that screamed power and money but forgot about comfort. Instead, I stepped into warmth. Floor-to-ceiling windows dominated the far wall, showcasing Manhattan like a glittering jewel box spread beneath us. The furniture was leather and dark wood, masculine but inviting. Bookshelves lined one wall, actual books, worn spines suggesting they'd been read. A fireplace flickered with real flames, casting dancing shadows across artwork I didn't recognize but suspected cost more than my yearly salary. Drink. Michael's voice came from behind me as he shrugged out of his jacket, draping it over a chair with casual grace. Answers. I turned to face him, trying to ignore how the firelight caught the angles of his face, the way his rolled-up sleeves revealed more of those intricate tattoos crawling up his forearms. You said you'd tell me everything. His mouth curved slightly. I said I'd tell you what you needed to know. He moved to the bar, because of course he had a bar, and poured 2 glasses of something amber. There's a difference. Don't play games with me. The words came out sharper than intended, fueled by the adrenaline still coursing through my system from Victor's encounter. A man threatened me today because of you. I deserve to know what I'm dealing with. Michael crossed the space between us, pressing a glass into my hand. His fingers lingered against mine. You're right. You do. He gestured toward the leather sofa. Sit. This conversation requires comfort. I remained standing. I'm fine here. Stubborn. But there was approval in his tone. He took a sip of his drink, studying me over the rim. What do you want to know, Amber Bells? Everything. Start with what you are. What I am. He repeated the words slowly, as if tasting them. I'm a businessman, as I told you. I own restaurants, nightclubs, real estate across 3 boroughs. I import goods, some legal, some less so. I provide services people need when traditional avenues fail them. You're Mafia. Not a question. His smile was slight, dangerous. That's an oversimplification, but yes. My family has been involved in New York's underworld for 3 generations. I inherited the business when my father was killed 8 years ago. The casual way he said killed sent ice through my veins. And Viktor Volkov? Something dark flickered across Michael's expression. A rival. The Volkov family controls the docks, shipping, smuggling operations. We've had an uneasy truce for years. They stay out of Manhattan proper. We don't interfere with their waterfront business. He set his glass down with controlled precision. Victor approaching you was a message. He's testing boundaries. Testing to see if I'm your weakness. Testing to see if you're worth the trouble of using against me. His gaze held mine. And you are, Amber. Worth far more trouble than he can imagine. I finally took a sip of my drink, scotch, smooth and burning. Why? You barely know me. Don't I? Michael moved closer, not touching but near enough that I could feel his heat. I know you're loyal to a fault, still sending money to your ex-husband's mother despite what he did to you. I know you're proud, refusing help even when you're drowning. I know you're stronger than you believe, 3 years of rebuilding yourself from nothing while men like Cal take and take and take. That's information. It's not knowing me. Then tell me I'm wrong. His hand came up, fingers trailing along my jaw with devastating gentleness. Tell me you didn't feel something when I kissed you. Tell me you're not standing in my penthouse right now because some part of you wants this, wants to be claimed by someone who won't let you go, who won't leave you drowning. The words hit too close to truths I wasn't ready to admit. You manipulated everything. You knew Cal would be at that bar. You orchestrated our meeting. I ensured I was there when you needed someone. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. There's a difference. Is there? I pulled back, needing distance to think. You've been watching me for months, Michael. Learning my patterns, my struggles. You sent me flowers that cost more than my rent. You made Viktor Volkov notice me. My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. You've dragged me into your world without asking if I wanted to be here. You asked me to kiss you. His voice remained calm, infuriatingly reasonable. That was your choice, Amber. Everything that followed, consequences of that choice. I didn't know what I was choosing. Yes, you did. He closed the distance I'd created, his presence overwhelming. Maybe not consciously. Maybe not the details. But you saw me in that bar, saw the tattoos, the way people moved around me, the danger I represent, and you asked anyway. Because you wanted someone to see you. To claim you. To make you feel like you mattered again. Tears burned behind my eyes. That's not fair. It's true. His hands cupped my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. Your ex-husband made you feel worthless. Small. Like you weren't enough. And then I walked into your life and looked at you like you were everything. Like you were worth protecting, worth possessing, worth keeping. His voice dropped lower, rougher. And you wanted that. Desperately. Stop. The word came out broken. Why? Because it scares you? Because admitting you want this means admitting you're not fine on your own. His forehead pressed against mine. You've spent 3 years telling yourself you don't need anyone. That you're better off alone. But you're not fine, Amber. You're barely surviving. The tears spilled over. You don't get to tell me what I am. No. His thumbs brushed away the tears with surprising tenderness. But I get to show you what you could be. What you deserve to be. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. A woman who doesn't work herself to death. Who doesn't cry in the shower because she thinks no one can hear. Who doesn't settle for ghost orchids when she deserves entire gardens. You don't know what I deserve. I know you deserve better than what you've had. His hand slid down to my shoulders, my arms, finally capturing my hands in his. I know you deserve someone who fights for you, who protects you, who looks at you and sees not what you've survived, but what you're capable of becoming. And that's you. The question came out as barely more than a whisper. You're going to save me? Michael's smile was slow, dangerous, and utterly honest. No, Solnishka. I'm going to ruin you for anyone else. And then I'm going to build you back up into someone so strong, so fierce, that men like Viktor Volkov and Cal Martins will never dare look at you wrong again. The endearment, Russian, intimate, sent shivers down my spine. What did you call me? Solnishka. Little son. His hand came up to cup my face again. Because you deserve to be warm. To shine. Not to spend your life in shadows wondering why you weren't enough. Michael, I didn't know what I was trying to say. Warning? Plea? Surrender? He didn't wait for me to figure it out. His lips found mine, not the commanding kiss from the bar, but something slower. Deeper. A kiss that tasted like scotch and promises and the kind of danger I was beginning to crave. I melted into him, my hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer as the world narrowed to just this. His mouth on mine, his hands in my hair, the solid warmth of his body against mine. This wasn't pretend. This wasn't for show. This was real, terrifyingly real, and I wanted it with an intensity that scared me. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His eyes had gone dark, pupils blown with want that matched my own. Stay, he said quietly. Tonight. Stay with me. I don't know if I can do this. My hands trembled against his chest. Your world, it's dangerous. Viktor Volkov is just the beginning, isn't it? There will be others. Other threats. Other tests. Yes. He didn't lie, didn't try to soften the truth. My world is violence and power and darkness. Being with me means accepting that. Living with that. Letting me protect you while also trusting that I'll keep you safe. That's a lot to ask. I know. His hand tangled in my hair, tilting my head back to meet his gaze. But I'm asking anyway. Because that kiss, the one you begged for, the one that was supposed to be pretend, it changed everything. You became mine the moment our lips touched, and I don't let go of what's mine. There was that word again. Mine. Possessive. Consuming. It should have sent me running. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. What if I say no? I whispered. What if I walk out that door right now? Michael's smile was both promise and warning. Then I have Marco follow you. I upgrade your building's security. I make sure you're never alone, never vulnerable, never at risk. His thumb traced my lower lip. I protect you whether you want me to or not. The only question is whether you accept that willingly or fight me every step. That's not a choice. It's the only choice I'm offering. His kiss was brief, fierce. Stay, Amber. Choose me. Choose this. Choose to stop surviving and start living. I looked past him to the windows, to Manhattan glittering like promises beneath us. My old life was down there somewhere, my small apartment, my double shifts, my safe and lonely existence. Everything I'd built from the wreckage Cal left behind. But here, in Michael's penthouse with his hands on my skin and his darkness wrapped around me like armor, here I felt alive. Seen. Wanted in a way I'd forgotten existed. If I stay, I said slowly, I need truth. No more secrets. No more manipulation. If I'm choosing your world, I deserve to know what I'm choosing. Something shifted in his expression, respect, maybe, or understanding. Agreed. Ask me anything. Viktor Volkov. How dangerous is he really? Very. Michael's jaw tightened. He's been looking for a way to expand into Manhattan for years. My family's territory, our businesses, he wants them. And he's willing to hurt people I care about to get them. And I'm someone you care about now. Yes. No hesitation. Which makes you a target. But it also makes you the most protected woman in New York City. His hands tightened on my waist. No one touches what's mine, Amber. Not Victor. Not Cal. Not anyone. What about Cal? I asked. He recognized you. He ran. But he also knows about me. About us. Michael's expression went cold. Cal Martins is a coward and a fool. He won't come near you again. You sound certain. I am. His smile held no warmth. Because I made it very clear what would happen if he did. And because men like Cal, they understand power. They understand consequences. He paused. If he's smart, he'll leave New York entirely. And if he's not smart? Then he'll learn why people fear the name Enzo. His hand cupped my face, pulling me back from thoughts of Cal and danger. But tonight isn't about him. Tonight is about us. About you deciding if you're brave enough to step into my world knowing everything it means. I looked up at him, this man who'd crashed into my life with a kiss and turned everything upside down. This dangerous, beautiful man who looked at me like I was something precious. Something worth keeping. I'm terrified, I admitted. Good. His smile softened. Fear means you understand the stakes. But terror doesn't mean no, does it? It should have. Every rational part of my brain screamed that I should walk away. Should run. Should go back to my safe, small life and forget Michael Enzo existed. But my heart, my stupid, desperate, lonely heart, wanted this. Wanted him. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the unfamiliar weight of Egyptian cotton sheets against my bare skin. For a disoriented moment, I couldn't remember where I was, then everything came rushing back. Michael. The penthouse. The choice I'd made. I turned my head to find him already awake, propped on one elbow, watching me with those dark, intense eyes. You're staring, I mumbled, pulling the sheet higher despite the fact that he'd seen everything last night. I'm memorizing. His hand traced lazy patterns on my shoulder, down my arm. The way the morning light catches in your hair. The small scar on your collarbone, how did you get that? Fell off my bike when I was 7. The memory felt distant, from a life where my biggest worry was scraped knees and missed dinners. Needed 6 stitches. 6 stitches. He leaned down, pressing a kiss to the faded mark. I want to know all of them. Every scar. Every story. Every piece of you that made you who you are. The tenderness in his voice made my chest ache. That could take a while. I have time. His smile was slow, dangerous. I have all the time in the world now that you're mine. There was that word again. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed on the nightstand, not a casual ring, but an urgent staccato vibration that made Michael's expression harden. I have to take this. He kissed me once more, brief and possessive, then stood, unself-conscious in his nakedness as he grabbed the phone. Enzo. I watched him pace to the windows, his voice dropping to that cold, controlled tone I'd heard at the bar. A different Michael, not the man who'd held me last night, but the one who made people afraid. When? Pause. Where is he now? Another pause, longer this time. His free hand clenched into a fist. No. Don't touch him. I'll handle it personally. He ended the call without goodbye, standing statue still against the windows for a long moment. Michael. I sat up, clutching the sheet to my chest. What's wrong? He turned, and the look on his face made my stomach drop. Cal Martins showed up at Meridian Hotel 20 minutes ago. He's asking for you. Ice flooded my veins. What? He's drunk, making a scene in the lobby. Michael's voice remained calm, but his eyes had gone glacial. Hotel security called the police. Marco intercepted. He's been watching your workplace since yesterday. Cal is currently in Marco's car, being driven to a location where we can talk privately. You kidnapped my ex-husband? The words came out higher than intended. I'm preventing him from making a public spectacle that would endanger you. Michael moved back to the bed, sitting on the edge, his hand finding mine. He's not hurt. Not yet. But we need to deal with this before it escalates. Deal with this how? Fear crept up my spine. Michael, what are you going to do to him? His jaw tightened. That depends on what he wants. Why he's suddenly grown brave enough to look for you after fleeing last night. His thumb traced circles on my wrist. But I need to know, do you still have feelings for him? What? No. The denial was instant, visceral. God, no. He destroyed me, Michael. 3 years of my life gone. I don't love him. I barely tolerate thinking about him. Good. Some of the tension left his shoulders. Because this would be much more complicated if you did. He stood, already reaching for clothes. Get dressed. You're coming with me. To see Cal? I don't want to. To see Cal understand exactly what he lost. Michael's smile held no warmth. And to show him, and anyone else watching, that you're under my protection now. That touching you, speaking to you, even thinking about you comes with consequences. I should have argued. Should have insisted I didn't need him fighting my battles. But the memory of Cal's smirk at the bar, his cruel words, the way he tried to make me feel small, it rose up like bile. Maybe I wanted to see him brought low. Maybe that made me petty. I didn't care. Give me 10 minutes, I said. Michael's smile turned approving. That's my girl. The warehouse was exactly what I expected. Industrial, isolated, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. 2 cars were parked outside, Marco's sedan and another black SUV I didn't recognize. Men in dark suits stood at intervals, watching, waiting. My heart hammered as Michael helped me from the car, his hand firm at the small of my back. Stay close to me, he murmured. And remember, you're safe. No matter what happens, you're safe. Inside, the warehouse opened into a vast, empty space. Concrete floors. Metal rafters. Windows too high and dirty to see through clearly. And in the center, tied to a chair, was Cal. He looked terrible. His expensive suit was rumpled, stained with what might have been whiskey or vomit or both. His face was bruised. Someone had hit him, though not badly. His eyes, when they found me, were wild with fear and something that looked like desperation. Amber. He struggled against the zip ties holding his wrists. Amber, thank God. Tell them this is a mistake. Tell them we're friends. I said nothing. Just stood there, Michael's hand steady against my back, staring at the man who'd once promised me forever and delivered only ruin. We need to talk, Michael said quietly, his voice carrying through the empty space. About boundaries. About respect. About the consequences of forgetting one's place. Cal's gaze darted between us, landing on Michael with something close to terror. Mr. Enzo, sir, I apologize. I shouldn't have gone to the hotel. I needed to talk to Amber. To warn her about people like Viktor Volkov. I was trying to protect her. Protect her. Michael's voice remained soft, conversational. Somehow that made it more terrifying. You, who left her drowning in your debt. Who fled when your business deals failed. Who smirked at her across a bar while your new woman laughed. He took a step forward. Just one. Cal flinched back so hard the chair scraped against concrete. You think you're in a position to protect anyone? I made mistakes. Cal's voice cracked. I know that. But Amber, she doesn't understand what she's gotten into. You're dangerous. Your world is dangerous. She deserves better than. Better than me? Michael tilted his head. You're right. She deserves better than both of us. Better than the coward who abandoned her. Better than the monster who claimed her. He paused. But she chose the monster. And unlike you, I don't abandon what's mine. She's not property. Cal shouted, then seemed to realize his mistake when Michael's eyes went cold. No, Michael agreed quietly. She's not property. She's a woman who deserves respect. Protection. Someone who fights for her instead of running. He glanced back at me. Isn't that right, Solnishka? The endearment, spoken here in front of Cal, felt like a brand. A claim. I should have objected. Should have insisted I could speak for myself. Instead, I heard myself say, he's right. You don't get to protect me now, Cal. You lost that privilege when you left. Cal's face crumpled. Amber, please. I'm trying to help. Viktor Volkov came to me. He knows about you and Enzo. He said, he stopped, swallowing hard. He said he'd pay me to give him information. About your routines. Your weaknesses. Ways to get to you. The warehouse went silent. Even the men stationed around the perimeter seemed to stop breathing. Michael's voice, when he spoke, could have frozen flame. And what did you tell him? Nothing. Cal strained against his restraints. I told him nothing. That's why I went to the hotel, to warn Amber. To tell her she needs to be careful. That Viktor is planning something. Michael studied him for a long moment. You expect me to believe you suddenly grew a conscience? That you care what happens to her after 3 years of silence? Cal's gaze found mine, and for the first time, I saw something genuine beneath the fear. I loved you once, Amber. I know I destroyed that. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I don't want you hurt because of me. Because I was weak and stupid and chose the wrong side. You chose Viktor. Michael's voice cut through whatever Cal was about to say next. You took his money. Gave him information. And now you're here, pretending to be a hero, hoping she'll intercede for you. No. I swear I didn't. Cal stopped as Michael pulled something from his pocket. A phone. Cal's phone, I realized, watching as Michael tapped the screen. Bank transfer from Volkov Enterprises. $50,000. Deposited into your account yesterday at 3:47 p.m. Michael's smile held no warmth. 4 hours after Viktor approached Amber outside her workplace. He looked up. Want to revise your story? Cal's face went white. I can explain. Don't bother. Michael pocketed the phone. You took money to betray her. Again. Just like you took her money, her trust, her love, and turned it into nothing. He moved closer, each step deliberate. Men like you don't change. You don't grow consciences. You simply get better at lying. Please. Cal was crying now, tears streaming down his face. Please, Mr. Enzo. I'll give the money back. I'll tell Viktor I can't help him. I'll leave New York. Just don't hurt me. Michael stopped inches from Cal's chair. I'm not going to hurt you. His voice remained quiet. Controlled. That would be too easy. Too quick. He leaned down, his face level with Cal's. Instead, I'm going to let you live. Let you walk out of here and back to whatever hole you've been hiding in. And you're going to spend every day knowing you sold out the only woman who ever truly loved you for $50,000. He straightened, turning back toward me. And you're going to spend every day watching her thrive. Watching her shine. Watching her be happy with someone who actually deserves her. His hand extended toward me. Come here, Amber. I moved without thinking, drawn by the command in his voice. Michael's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me against his side. Together, we stood in front of Cal, two halves of something powerful and terrifying and utterly united. Look at her, Michael said quietly. Really look. See what you lost. What you'll never have again. Cal's eyes met mine, and I saw everything there: regret, fear, shame, and underneath it all, the same weakness that had made him run 3 years ago. He wasn't here to protect me. He'd come because Victor had paid him, and now he was trying to salvage whatever he could. You're pathetic, I said, and the words came easily. Truthfully. I wasted 3 years of my life crying over you, wondering what was wrong with me, why I wasn't enough. I stepped closer, Michael's hand steady at my waist. But there was nothing wrong with me, Cal. The problem was you. It was always you. Amber. I don't forgive you. I don't care what happens to you. You're nothing to me now. I paused, letting the words sink in. Less than nothing. His face crumpled completely. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Too late. I turned to Michael. I'm done here. Can we go? Michael's smile was proud, possessive. We can. He looked at Marco, who'd appeared from the shadows. Cut him loose. Drive him to the airport. I want him on a plane out of New York by tonight. And if he comes back? Marco asked. Michael's expression went cold. Then we have a different conversation. One without zip ties and mercy. He looked at Cal one final time. Do we understand each other, Mr. Martins? Cal nodded frantically. Yes. Yes, sir. I understand. Good. Michael guided me toward the exit, away from my past and the man who'd nearly broken me. Because if I see you again, if I hear you've contacted her, spoken about her, even thought about her, I won't be this kind. We were halfway to the door when Cal's voice called out one last time. Amber. He's dangerous. He'll hurt you eventually. They all do. I stopped, turning back to meet his eyes. Maybe. But at least he'll do it honestly. At least he sees me. Wants me. Chooses me every single day. I paused. You never did. Michael's hand tightened on my waist. Come, Solnishka. Let's go home. Home. He said it like it was decided. Like his penthouse was already where I belonged. And as we stepped out of the warehouse into bright afternoon sunlight, I realized it was. I'd made my choice. Not just to stay with Michael. Not just to accept his protection. But to stop being the woman Cal had broken and become someone stronger. Someone fierce. Someone who chose fire over safety and passion over loneliness. I chose Michael Enzo. Completely. Irrevocably. And whatever came next, Viktor Volkov, danger, the darkness of Michael's world, I'd face it all. Because I wasn't walking away. The drive back to the penthouse passed in silence. Michael's hand remained on my thigh, possessive grounding, while Manhattan blurred past the windows. My mind replayed the warehouse, Cal's tears, the finality of walking away. I'd expected to feel something. Regret, maybe. Guilt. Some residual attachment to the man I'd once loved. Instead, I felt free. You're smiling, Michael observed, glancing over at me. I am. I placed my hand over his, threading our fingers together. I thought seeing him again would hurt. That I'd remember the good times, the life we'd planned. I paused. But all I could see was weakness. The same weakness that made him run. Made him take Victor's money. Made him lose me. Michael lifted my hand to his lips. His loss is my gain. That's very possessive of you. I'm a possessive man. His smile was unapologetic. Especially about things, about people, I consider mine. We pulled into the private garage beneath his building. Marco opened my door with silent efficiency, and Michael guided me toward the private elevator with his hand at my back. The ride up felt different this time. Not nerve-wracking. Not uncertain. Inevitable. The elevator doors opened directly into the penthouse. Sunlight streamed through those massive windows, turning Manhattan into a glittering promise. Michael's world. My world now, I supposed. Hungry? He asked, shrugging out of his jacket. I can have something sent up. Not really. I moved to the windows, looking out at the city. Is Victor going to come after me? Now that Cal failed him. Michael came up behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling my back against his chest. Probably. Men like Victor don't give up easily. His lips brushed my temple. But he'll have to go through me first. Through Marco and the 40 men I have positioned throughout the city. Through security systems Cal couldn't imagine and resources Victor can't match. 40 men. I twisted to look up at him. You have 40 people protecting me? I have 40 people who know that harming you means answering to me. There's a difference. His hand came up to cup my jaw. You're not just under my protection, Amber. You're my declared priority. Everyone who works for me knows it. Everyone who opposes me knows it. He paused. And soon, everyone in New York will know it. That sounds ominous. It's strategic. He turned me to face him fully. In my world, weakness is an invitation. Victor approached you because he thought you were vulnerable. That I hadn't claimed you publicly enough. His eyes darkened. I'm going to fix that. How? Instead of answering, he pulled me toward the massive dining table where a newspaper lay open. Not just any newspaper, the society section of the Times. And there, half a page in, was a photo from last night. Me in Michael's arms outside the bar, his hand at my waist, looking up at him like he was my entire world. The caption read, Michael Enzo, Manhattan's most eligible bachelor, seen with mystery woman. They got your name wrong, Michael said quietly. Called you mystery woman. That changes today. What do you mean? He picked up his phone, typing quickly. I'm making a statement. Declaring you publicly as mine. It'll be in tomorrow's papers, across social media, everywhere that matters. He looked up. By tomorrow night, everyone will know your name. Know you're under my protection. Know that touching you means war. The implications crashed over me. Michael, that makes me a target. It makes you untouchable. His hands framed my face. Right now, you're interesting. You're leverage. You're the woman sleeping with Michael Enzo. His voice dropped. But once I declare you formally, once I make it clear you're not just some passing amusement but something I'm keeping, then you become too dangerous to touch. Because attacking you means attacking me. And no one in New York is stupid enough to do that. You sound very certain. I've been playing this game since I was 18, Solnishka. I know how power works. How fear works. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. Trust me. This is how I keep you safe. I wanted to argue. Wanted to insist I didn't need this kind of protection, this level of exposure. But Cal's betrayal was too fresh. Victor's threat too real. Okay, I whispered. Do it. Michael's smile was triumph and relief. You won't regret this. I already regret it a little. But I was smiling. What does the statement say? He showed me his phone. The draft message was simple, elegant, and utterly possessive. To whom it may concern, Amber Bells is under my protection and my claim. She is to be afforded every courtesy, every respect, and every consideration due to someone I value above all else. Anyone who forgets this will answer to me personally. Enzo. That's. I struggled for words. Very direct. It needs to be. He pocketed his phone. No ambiguity. No room for misinterpretation. His arms wrapped around me again. You're mine, Amber. I want everyone to know it. And what about what I want? The question came out softer than intended. Michael went still. What do you want? I looked up at him, this dangerous, beautiful man who'd crashed into my life and turned everything upside down. Who'd protected me, claimed me, made me feel things I'd thought were dead. I paused, finding courage. I want to stop being afraid. Stop looking over my shoulder. Stop wondering if every man who looks at me is a threat. My hands fisted in his shirt. I want to feel safe. And I want, the words stuck in my throat. Tell me, he urged gently. I want you. The admission came out barely above a whisper. Not just your protection. Not just your power. You. The man who calls me Solnishka and looks at me like I'm something precious. Who makes me feel seen. Tears burned behind my eyes. I want this. Whatever this is. Even if it's dangerous. Even if it's crazy. I want it. Michael's kiss was answer and promise and claim all at once. Deep, consuming, tasting like triumph and possession, and something that felt dangerously close to love. You have me, he said against my lips. All of me. For as long as you want me. And when I stop wanting you? His smile was dangerous. You won't. The arrogance should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. Confident. Certain. He lifted me easily, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me toward the bedroom. Because I know what I am, Amber. I know I'm dangerous and possessive and probably bad for you. He laid me on the bed, covering my body with his. But I also know I'll never leave you. Never betray you. Never make you wonder if you're enough. His hand tangled in my hair, tilting my head back. You're more than enough. You're everything. The kiss that followed erased every doubt, every fear, every rational thought about why this was a terrible idea. His hands mapped my body with reverence and hunger. His lips traced paths that made me arch into him, gasping. And when he finally claimed me, fully, completely, irrevocably, I surrendered to it. To him. To the dangerous choice I'd made and the woman I was becoming because of it. Later, wrapped in sheets that cost more than my monthly rent, I traced the tattoos on his chest. What do they mean? Michael's fingers played with my hair. Family crests. Reminders. Markers of things I've survived. He caught my hand, pressing it over his heart. This one, he indicated a small, intricate design near his collarbone. This is new. I got it last week. I leaned closer, studying the delicate lines. It was a sun. Small, almost hidden among the darker imagery surrounding it. Why a sun? His smile was soft, genuine. Because I knew, even then, that you were going to change everything. His hand covered mine, holding it against his heartbeat. Solnishka. My little sun. Bringing light into darkness. Tears blurred my vision. That's, Michael, that's true. He pulled me closer, tucking my head beneath his chin. You asked what I want from you, Amber. This is it. I want you to stay. I want you to let me protect you, care for you, build a life with you. He paused. I want to give you the world you deserve. The safety. The comfort. The love. Love. The word came out shaky. Love. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Like it wasn't terrifying and too fast and completely insane. I'm not good at softness, Solnishka. I'm not good at gentle. But I know what I feel when I look at you. When I touch you. When I imagine my life without you in it. His arms tightened. That's love. Violent, possessive, all-consuming love. I should have been scared. Should have told him it was too soon, too much, too intense. Instead, I heard myself whisper, I think I love you too. God help me, I think I do. His laughter rumbled through his chest. God has nothing to do with this, Amber. This is all us. All choice. All surrender. He rolled, pinning me beneath him, his eyes dark with promise. Say it again. I love you. The words came easier this time. I love you, Michael Enzo. Even though you're dangerous. Even though you're probably going to ruin my life. Even though this is crazy. He silenced me with a kiss. I'm going to ruin your life, he agreed against my lips. I'm going to ruin you for anyone else. I'm going to make you so happy, so protected, so loved that you'll never remember what it felt like to be lonely. His hand cupped my face. And in return, you're going to be mine. Completely. No half measures. No looking back. No looking back, I agreed. Then it's settled. He kissed me again, slower this time. Deeper. You're staying. You're mine. And tomorrow, everyone will know it. The next morning, I woke to my phone exploding with notifications. Instagram. Facebook. Text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Even Maria from the hotel had sent 17 messages, each one more frantic than the last. Girl, what the hell? Is this real? Call me right now. I scrolled through my social media with growing horror. The photo from the bar, Michael and me, locked in that kiss, had gone viral. But it wasn't just the photo. It was the statement beneath it. Michael's declaration, posted to his verified accounts, shared thousands of times. And now everyone knew my name. Everyone knew I was his. Don't panic. Michael appeared with coffee, setting it on the nightstand. He was already dressed, suit perfectly tailored, hairstyled, looking every inch the powerful man he was. This is what protection looks like. Protection looks like my face plastered across the internet? I grabbed my phone, showing him the flood of messages. Michael, people from high school are reaching out. My old landlord. Random strangers asking if I'm really dating you. And now Viktor Volkov knows better than to touch you. He sat on the edge of the bed, his hand finding mine. And Cal knows he lost. And every person in New York who might have seen you as vulnerable now sees you as untouchable. His thumb traced circles on my palm. This is how it works, Amber. In my world, declarations matter. Public claims matter. I know. I agreed to this. But, I stopped, struggling to articulate the strange mixture of fear and exhilaration flooding through me. But this is real now. This isn't just us. This is the whole world watching. Let them watch. He pulled me into his arms. Let them see you're claimed. Loved. Protected. His lips found my temple. Let them see what happens when someone tries to hurt what's mine. Despite my anxiety, I felt myself relaxing into his embrace. You're very good at this. At what? Making me feel safe even when the whole world knows my name. His smile was soft. That's because you are safe. The whole world knowing your name, that's not a threat, Solnishka. That's a shield. He pulled back to meet my eyes. Trust me. I looked at him, really looked. At the man who'd tattooed a sun on his chest for me. Who'd sent ghost orchids and made declarations and looked at me like I was his entire world. I trust you, I said. Good. He stood, pulling me up with him. Because we have somewhere to be. Where? I'm taking you shopping. At my confused expression, he smiled. You're going to need an entirely new wardrobe. Something that fits who you are now. Who we are together. His hand cupped my face. Something that makes you feel as powerful as you actually are. Michael, I can't afford. You're not paying. I am. He silenced my protest with a kiss. This isn't charity, Amber. This is me taking care of what's mine. Providing for you. Making sure you have everything you need and everything you want. His voice dropped. Let me spoil you. Let me give you the life you deserve. I wanted to argue. Wanted to insist I could take care of myself, that I didn't need his money or his gifts. But the truth was, I was tired of struggling. Tired of counting pennies and working double shifts and choosing between eating and electricity. And Michael, dangerous, possessive Michael, was offering me a way out. Not just survival, but actual comfort. Luxury. Safety. Okay, I whispered. Spoil me. His grin was pure triumph. With pleasure. The boutique was in Soho, the kind of place I'd never dared enter before. The kind where there were no price tags and the sales associates looked like models. Michael's hand remained steady at my back as we entered, and immediately, the staff descended. Mr. Enzo. A woman in sleek black appeared, her smile professional but warm. So wonderful to see you again. And this must be, her gaze shifted to me, and something flickered in her expression. Recognition, maybe, from the viral photos. Miss Bells. Welcome. We're honored to have you. The next 3 hours passed in a blur of silk and cashmere and designers whose names I only knew from magazines. Michael sat in a leather chair, watching as I modeled dress after dress, outfit after outfit. His expression remained impassive most of the time, until I stepped out in a particular black dress that hugged every curve. That one, he said, his voice low, dangerous. Definitely that one. It's a bit revealing. It's perfect. He stood, closing the distance between us, his hands settling at my waist. You're perfect. His lips brushed my ear. Buy it. And everything else you've tried on today. Michael, I'd lost count of the outfits. Dozens. Easily tens of thousands of dollars. Nothing. He pulled back to meet my eyes. It's nothing compared to what you're worth. His thumb traced my jaw. Stop counting, Amber. Stop worrying about price tags and budgets and whether you deserve this. His voice dropped to barely more than a whisper. You deserve everything. Let me give it to you. So I did. I let him buy the dresses, the shoes, the coats and bags and accessories I'd never have chosen for myself. I let him smile with satisfaction as the staff packaged everything, arranging for delivery to his penthouse. I let him take my hand as we left, pulling me close as cameras flashed, because of course there were paparazzi now. Of course people were watching. Smile, he murmured. Show them you're happy. And I was. Terrifyingly, undeniably happy. That night, back at the penthouse with shopping bags scattered across the bedroom, I caught Michael watching me again. That same intense focus, like he was memorizing every detail. What? I asked, self-conscious. You're smiling. He came closer, pulling me into his arms. Really smiling. Not the practice smile you wore at the hotel or the forced smile you gave Cal. His forehead pressed against mine. This is real. You're happy. I am. The admission felt like freedom. I know this is crazy. I know we barely know each other. I know your world is dangerous and complicated and nothing like what I planned. I stopped, laughing softly. But I'm happy. With you. In this. All of it. Good. His kiss was gentle, reverent. Because this is your life now, Amber. My penthouse. My world. My protection and my love and everything I have. He pulled back to meet my eyes. You're not going back to that apartment in Hell's Kitchen. You're not working double shifts at Meridian. You're staying here. With me. That's very presumptuous. It's reality. His smile held no apology. I don't do halfway, Solnishka. You're mine now. Completely. Which means your place is here. I should have argued. Should have insisted on keeping some independence, some piece of my old life. But the truth was, I didn't want it. Didn't want the loneliness, the exhaustion, the constant struggle just to survive. I wanted this. Him. The dangerous, beautiful life he was offering. Okay, I said. I'll stay. Michael's smile was triumph and joy and possession all wrapped together. Forever. The word should have terrified me. Should have sent me running. Instead, I heard myself say, forever. He kissed me then, deep, consuming, sealing the promise we'd just made. And as Manhattan glittered beyond the windows and the future stretched before us, unknown and dangerous and utterly inevitable, I surrendered to it all. I'd asked a stranger for a kiss to make my ex jealous. Instead, I'd found something far more dangerous and infinitely more precious. I'd found Michael Enzo. And I was never letting go. 6 months later. The charity gala glittered with Manhattan's elite, politicians, business moguls, socialites dripping in diamonds. I stood beside Michael, wearing one of those beautiful dresses he'd bought me, and felt the weight of every gaze. They all knew who I was now. Michael Enzo's woman. The one he'd claimed publicly. The one who'd transformed from struggling hotel worker to the most protected woman in New York. You're frowning, Michael murmured, his hand warm at my waist. I'm nervous. I smiled at a couple passing by, then turned to him. These people, they're not my world. They're our world. He guided me toward the balcony, away from prying eyes. The November air was crisp, and Manhattan spread beneath us like a promise. And you belong here as much as any of them. More because you've earned it. I haven't earned anything. You gave me. You earned it by surviving Cal. By choosing me despite the danger. By standing beside me these last 6 months while Victor tested our boundaries and my enemies circled. His hands framed my face. You've earned every moment of happiness, Amber. Never doubt that. I leaned into his touch, marveling at how normal this had become. How right. Victor's still a problem. Victor will always be a problem. Michael's smile held no warmth. But he's learned not to touch you. Not to test those boundaries. He paused. Did you hear? Cal left the country. Australia, apparently. Good. And I meant it. Cal was a ghost now, a memory with no power over me. Let him stay gone. He will. Michael's certainty was absolute. He knows what happens if he doesn't. I looked out at the city, my city now, in a way it had never been before. Do you ever regret it? Claiming me so publicly? All the complications it brought. Never. His arms wrapped around me from behind, pulling my back against his chest. You're the best decision I ever made, Solnishka. The only thing in my life that's purely good. I'm not that good. I turned in his arms. I let you ruin me, remember? His laugh was low, intimate. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. His hand slipped into his pocket, and suddenly, he was pulling out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. Michael. I know what you're going to say. He opened the box, revealing a ring, simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the city lights. That it's too soon. That we're moving too fast. That this is crazy. His eyes held mine. But I don't care. I want you as my wife, Amber. I want to make this official. Legal. Permanent in every way that matters. Tears blurred my vision. We've only known each other 6 months. I've known you were mine from the first kiss. He took the ring from the box, holding it between us. So I'm asking. Not demanding. Not claiming. asking. His voice dropped. Will you marry me? I looked at the ring, at him, at the life we'd built together from one desperate kiss and a dangerous choice. Every rational part of my brain screamed this was too fast, too much, too intense. But my heart, my stupid, brave, loving heart, knew the answer. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Michael's smile was pure joy as he slipped the ring onto my finger. You won't regret this. I know. And I did know. Whatever came next, danger, complications, the continued chaos of his world, I'd face it all with him. He kissed me there on the balcony, with Manhattan glittering beneath us and our future stretching forward, unknown but utterly certain. I'd asked a stranger for a kiss. And in return, he'd given me everything.